Hey everybody, welcome to Coach Castle's live coaching. And for those of you who don't know, I do this live coaching every Sunday. It's almost always 11 to 12, that's Eastern Standard Time, as I'm located in Florida. Anybody can come on here at any time and ask any question that you like, and I'll do my best to answer it. The questions are whatever you guys want to know. Can have anything to do with sports, training of any kind, bodybuilding, physical rehabilitation, biomechanics, dieting, nutrition, supplementation, steroids, SARMs. Pretty much unlimited discussion space here, provided it has to do with your health and betterment of your mind. I'll be able to discuss at least a little something about it, and if I don't know, I can probably point you in the direction of a correct resource. The benefit of this is you get your questions answered right away. Now, I would recommend you guys, if you want to write down your questions and have a little list ready for this at the end of the week. Or, of course, any of you who follow me know, you can reach out to me in any of my social. My Instagram is Coach Castle. My Facebook is Castle Thompson. Of course, my email is castleinprogress@gmail.com. My website is castleinprogress.com. You can find my Etsy store linked below all of my videos as well. These all have, all the tools you guys need, the biomechanical running cues, the book about how to run properly. My latest book, by the way, is up there. A lot of you guys have been asking about it. My latest book is up there. It's 75 pages. Oh, speaking of which, hey JC Lifts, thank you so much for telling me that you love the new book. I'm glad. It's only 75 pages. The first version that I put up on Etsy, I've actually made just slightly better. I've added a couple things to it, and I'll be uploading that new version soon. But it's still only 75 pages. Very soon I'll be doing an audio reading of it for those of you guys who want to listen to the book as opposed to read it. I know a lot of you guys are much better at audio learning, and I'll also be including all the pictures in the book with the audio book, so you guys can see the pictures as well. I'll probably give a quick breakdown of the graphs and the pictures of what they mean as well too. You won't get that in the book, obviously, just for anybody who's curious. But that's what the Sunday live coaching is. I just take an hour every week. It's not that much time. It's 1 hour is 4% of your 24-hour day. Out of your 7-day week, an hour is basically nothing. So I don't mind. I'm a busy person, but I don't mind taking that time for you guys to answer any of your questions whatsoever, because getting an answer from me is far preferable than someone else who doesn't know what they're talking about, like a magazine, some other fucking YouTube channel. You guys know I don't like these kind of people. Oh, hey, Philip, look at you back on here again. Me and Philip just had a little jump rope session. He's getting better at jumping rope. I was just teaching him some of the basics, foot placement, how to tell the length of your rope, timing, and stuff like that. For those of you guys, by the way, who don't know about jump rope, I would highly recommend it. I love jumping movements. I love training your tendons, your solaris muscle. I've got a video coming up soon, by the way, where I talk specifically about muscle fibers types and why that matters for training. In regards to this context, for example, most of you know that your calf muscle is made up of two muscles, the gastrocnemius, that's the big one, kind of looks like the bicep, and then a really thin one, a small one called the solaris. Now, when you're doing something like jump rope, you're primarily training the solaris and the tendons. The solaris is basically just one big tendon. It's made up of fast twitch muscle fibers. It's like 80% made of those. So you really want to be training those if you're not already. I'll make some videos about jump rope coming up soon just because I have a couple clients interested in it. But something like 10 minutes of jump rope, depending on your weight and your physical activity level and everything else, you'll be burning about 300 or 400 calories just jumping jump rope for 10 minutes. Now, conversely, if I wanted to burn that on a treadmill, I'd have to do a 15% incline for like 3 miles an hour for a solid 45 minutes. And that'd be really hard to do. But just jumping rope a minute every hour, for example, you'll burn a lot of calories. You'll train your body in a whole new way. You'll restore your posture. You'll correct your breathing. You'll learn to be relaxed under tension, these kinds of things. Jump rope's it's a great thing. I don't talk about it enough. I'm just talking about it more recently because I have a lot of clients interested in it currently. JC Lifts, why do people like Paul Carter say since mechanical tension is the sole driver of hypertrophy, there is no reason to do reps over 15? to just stay in the rep range of 5 to 8 and lift heavy. I don't know why he says that. He is correct, of course, to a point. All of the latest science, I don't have the book with me, but there's a wonderful new book I'm reading. It's about the latest science of these things. I'll be making videos about it soon. But long story short, provided you are taking the muscle close to failure, the rep range doesn't really matter, provided you're stopping just short of failure or maximum mechanical tension and maintaining that tension throughout the movement. Also, the eccentric, or the lowering or the lengthening of the weight, of the muscle rather, is the more important portion, because this is where most of the muscle damage occurs. And the whole concept of hypertrophy, it's very misunderstood. It's very outdated. It does get complicated, but long story short, you can be training for strength or you can be training for muscle size. There is small differences between them, and there's a lot of crossover. That's the long and the short of it. But it's a little bit more nuanced than that. I assume he says that just to keep it simple for people, the same way I say certain things, just to keep things very simple. But it's not the whole story. And I'm sure probably, I hope anyways, with his clients, he probably gets a little bit more nuanced about it. But anyways, on to some other questions here, guys. I just watched a beginner jump rope video. The person said it might be good for a beginner to use 1 pound rope. Will that benefit me? The reason that he says the 1 pound rope is because it allows you to feel the rope better. So just like we were talking about this morning, I want you to feel the rope. You should have no difficulty jumping rope even with your eyes closed, for example. And that's because you're feeling where the rope is in space. This is a proceptive cue. This is a neurological connection. You actually have to build this, feel it in your hand, your forearms. You'll be able to visualize the rope even with your eyes closed. Having a heavier weight, heavier rope will actually absolutely help with that. You don't necessarily need to buy a heavier jump rope. You can use a thin chain, for example, just to practice with a thin chain. That's a really easy way to do it. Just attach it to two swivel handles or something. It's very easy to do, but it's super beginner. It's just so you get a better feel for the rope. If you want to try that, I mean, by all means, I'm all about trying new stuff. We have discussed this before, and I've seen better results with reps over 15 to 30. Okay, so I'll get a little bit more nuanced here, I guess, because it bears getting more nuanced on this topic. Okay, so just a second ago, for example, I referenced the calf. Now, the gastrocnemius is primarily composed of slow twitch muscle fibers. So if you're attempting to add mass to your calf, you want to be performing very slow and controlled movements, and you want to be performing them for something between 20 and 30 reps, or 20 to 40 reps in that rep range. Now, this is because of the actual muscle fibers that the gastrocnemius is made of, versus the solaris, which is part of the calf, but it's primarily responsible for the tendon, or the bounce reflex, if you will. So this is the exact opposite kind of muscle fiber. This is fast twitch muscle fibers. It's composed almost 80% of it in most people. So that does not have a lot of capacity for growth or for size. The gastrocnemius with the slow twitch, that has great capacity. Now, something like the triceps, I mean, I'm not going to get through a breakdown of all the muscles on your body, but something like the triceps, for example, the triceps is composed primarily of, again, fast twitch. So if that's fast twitch fibers primarily, you want to be focused on movements which are, I'm sorry, not movements, but rep ranges which are higher. You want to be going for higher because you want to primarily try to target the type 2, the slower twitch. So if you know that the tricep is mostly fast twitch, you don't want to be doing fast movements because that's going to prioritize that particular function getting better and stronger, but you're not going to increase size of the actual muscle. Doing something slower with less weight and a heavier focus on the eccentric portion and going for 20 to 30 or 30 to 40 reps, this will cause the type 2 muscle fibers to grow, increasing the thickness, increasing the size of the muscle. It's a completely different style of training. It's a different rep range. That being said, you could make gains. Of course, you could make gains doing 5 to 8 reps with heavy weight, provided you're stopping short of failure, 2 to 3 reps to 3 to 4 reps short of failure. The issue is, again, this is nuanced. You will be making progress both ways. You'll be making progress, but after, say, like a year or two, the person who was training intelligently in the 20 to 30, 30 to 40 rep range, if they're a clone of themselves, they'll have better muscle size than the person who was just training close to failure 5 to 8 reps, because they're basically targeting all of their muscle fibers and they're not prioritizing one over the other. I hope that all that makes sense. I know it's a lot. Let's see here. I know jump rope works the leg muscles. Does it do anything for the upper body? Oh, yeah, absolutely. So anytime you do a jumping movement, it's a full shock absorption through your system. So we've discussed this in the context of biotensegrity. Biotensegrity is how basically your skeleton is supported in a complex network, lattice work, if you will, of muscle, fascia, tendons, ligaments, these things. Your muscles are like floating in this jello-y structure. Now, anytime you take any form of impact, that impact translates through the entire structure. And the way that you get injured is by concentrating that impact in a specific point somewhere it's not supposed to be. Rolling your ankle when you're jumping rope, for example. That would be an impact that would damage you. Now, when you're doing jump rope, you're training your abdominals, you're training your respiratory muscles, you're training your traps, you're training your forearms, depending how much you're using your arms, you're using your lateral delts, you might be using your rear delts a little bit, depending how much you're moving your arms. Shouldn't be moving your arms too much, but regardless, you're training your full body and all of the muscles are contracting to absorb the shock. This is why jump rope burns so many calories, actually, because it uses most of the muscles in your body, and it also encourages a fast breathing rate. Fat is only burned in the presence of oxygen, oxidization. That's why it works so effective. Anyways, moving forward here. Regarding breathing, how can one change our breathing pattern so that our old daily breathing pattern is replaced with the slower breathing patterns all day long? That's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. This is something I speak about constantly, I lecture about constantly, and everybody wants to know how they can implement this in their lives right away. So just to give you guys just a very brief summary who have not heard me speak about this, in general, the vast majority of people are something called vertical breathers, and they're also mouth breathers, or at least 50% of the time mouth breathers. So what this means is it translates to extremely poor breathing efficiency, fucking up your posture, your jaw, I'll stop. It's a big list of bad things. When you don't breathe correctly, everything goes to hell. It's pretty simple. Everything goes to hell when you're not breathing correctly. When you are breathing correctly, everything is significantly better. Mood improvement, health improvement, sleep improvement. You get the idea. Metabolism, everything. If you are a vertical breather, it's very easy to see. Take your hand, put your hand flat on your belly button, take a deep breath. Now you can't see, but for me, I look like I'm pregnant. It fully expands 2 to 3 inches in front of my body, and it fully inflates. My rib cage barely moves at all. My shoulders don't go up, etc., etc. Now, if you did this 9 times out of 10, when you take a deep breath, it looks like this. Something like that. Your chest inflates, your rib cage opens up, your shoulders go up. This is vertical breathing. This is not efficient. The high and the low of it is very simple. Most of your alveoli, or these little mechanical balloons, sacs full of liquid in your lungs, most of them are in the lower half of your lungs. The only way to access those is by dropping your diaphragm. The only way to drop your diaphragm is to breathe with your belly, or dropping your diaphragm. This way it allows you to fully expand your lungs. Basically, all these little guys are all folded up in there, like this. And the only way to fully inhale, fully activate, or use all these guys is to take a deep breath into your belly and then to exhale. Now, the optimum rhythm should be 5 seconds into the nose and then a 5-second exhale, nose or mouth, it doesn't matter too much, but it should be exactly like that. It should be with your belly. Now, most people have a lot of trouble with this. Don't worry. It takes, on average, roughly 1 year to 2 years to correct your breathing patterns. Now, tips and tricks. Tip number 1, meditate. I cannot stress enough, I truly, truly believe everyone should meditate every single day for a bare minimum of 5 minutes. Meditation, I'm not going to get into it, but it's an amazing tool for everything from focusing to learning new patterns to, I'll stop, just meditation. Meditation in this context is going to be exactly what I just said. I want you to put your hand on your belly. I want you to breathe into your nose for 5 seconds into your belly, and to breathe out 5 seconds, either nose or mouth. I don't care. And to set a timer for 5 minutes and to do it for 5 minutes. This is a great way to suddenly become mindful of your breathing, to become more focused during the day, etc., etc. Furthermore, during the day. Just get in the habit of checking in on yourself like you're coaching yourself, or like you're a stranger or a best friend that you care about who recently suffered an illness. Keep an eye on yourself. How am I breathing? Don't have an ego. Don't be vain. The reason for these restrictions in our breathing, the reason we're vertical breathers, is because we imitate other people. We try to look like superheroes. We puff our chests up. We suck our stomachs in when we see a pretty girl. We wear waist trimmers, waist slimmers, tight things. Don't do that. You're sacrificing your health and you're actually slowing down your ability to burn fat. Don't do that. Don't wear waist trimmers. Don't wear waist slimmers. They do nothing. They do nothing. There's no point. Don't wear them. That being said, there's lots of other stuff you can do. I mean, simple things like just meditating frequently throughout the day. Simple things like when you're driving, keep one hand resting on your belly. Pay attention to how you're breathing. Simple things like paying attention when you're in a stressful situation. How are you breathing in that stressful situation? If you focus on your breathing, it all goes away, etc. I mean, there's tons of stuff you can do. But it's a great question, but everybody should be working on your breathing and working on becoming more of a horizontal breather. My thoughts on Turkestone, and I'm curious about my opinion. Okay, my thoughts on Turkestone is I'm very much on board with what Andrew Huberman says about it. Essentially, it is a good way to boost your testosterone. It will not take you above normal. That's the thing, though. So the effects, for those of you who don't know, it's just it's an herb you can buy. It elevates your testosterone, but it only works if you're already below optimum limits. Optimum limits would be 800, and this is free radical or available testosterone. Now, if you are, say, at 500 and you take Turkestone for, I don't know, a month or 2 months, depending, it'll put you up to 800. You'll get back to normal. This is excellent in most people's cases, but it's not going to put you above. It's not going to be giving you any extra. It's not steroids. It's not SARMs. It will not take you above normal. I hope that makes sense. That's the easiest way to explain my thoughts on it, I guess. As for taking it, as recommended, no more. There's no point. More is not better in this case, as recommended. Watching from Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you so much. I appreciate that mass scanning guy. Anytime I can help, just let me know. And anybody who tunes into these Sunday lives, by the way, if you'd like a free copy of my new book, 75 pages, everything you need to know, trust me, everything you need to know, just send me an email after this, and I'll make sure you get a copy. Really, the book's, it's revolutionary. That's why I put it together. But anyways, getting back to you guys. JC lifts. Makes sense. My first workout set is 30, like 2 reps shy of failure. Add more weight than 2022. Add weight 12 to sometimes I'll do a 4 set before the failure set. Cool. But if your goal is hypertrophy, I would actually say leave the weight alone. Don't even change it. Just try just leaving the weight alone and continuously trying to get high reps. So your first set, good. Got it. 30, but don't change the weight. Leave the weight alone. Just cycle through your exercises. Come back to the first one. Leave the weight alone. See how many you can do. You will naturally be able to do 1 to 2 reps less than you did last time, but you'll still be getting more actual volume mathematically and be targeting the kind of muscle fibers you want to prioritize with the hypertrophy more by leaving the weight alone. Changing the weight in this context doesn't add anything unless you're attempting to do kind of a hybrid of build your strength and build your hypertrophy. Or your muscle actual size. In my opinion, you should either concentrate on one or the other unless you're playing the long game, meaning for a long time you do both, and for a very long time, and eventually you get really good at both. Not sure why my chat keeps going away. Okay, here we go. Keep this to stay here. My Fitbit sleep tracker indicates that I have a high oxygen saturation through most of the night. Could this be due to the HRVT breathing? I don't suffer from sleep apnea. Yeah, it's more than likely due to your breathing you do before bed. Yeah, and it's actually a good thing. You consuming more oxygen while you're sleeping literally means you're burning more fat while you're sleeping. So it's a good thing. Magnus, hi, how are you? Hello. Any questions for me, brother? Just type them in there, no worries. All right, guys, we're 20 minutes in. I have to cut this a little bit short today, by the way, guys. I apologize, but I do have a client at 12, so I'll have to stop this about 10, maybe 15 minutes early, just so we know. It also, just for those of you who don't know, unfortunately, until I get over 1,000 subscribers, this the live coaching is only going to be available or accessible, I think, to like 20 or like 50 people or something at a time. So a lot of you guys want to be notified when this happens till I get over 1,000. So apologies in advance. And also another apology is sometimes the internet's for whatever reason a little bit slow, or there's a lag or something, and you guys will put your questions in, and I won't get them for several minutes after you put it in. Just so you all know, I just like to cover that. But anyways, excuse me. Let's get questions here. I see Doug Brignoli does not believe in forced reps or drop sets. What are your thoughts on these two? Yeah, I agree with Doug to a point. So drop sets, there's no point. I can probably explain this simply. When you're doing a drop set, for those of you who don't know what a drop set is, let's say I was doing bicep curls and I wanted to what's called run the rack. So I'd start off with probably 50s, and I would do about 5 reps each arm, and then I would drop it to 45s, and I would do 6 or 7. I'd drop it to 40. I'd do 8 or 9 reps. I would drop it to etc. all the way down. I was doing 5-pound weights, and I'd be doing hopefully about 30 reps, but my biceps would be pumped up full of blood. I'd be screaming in pain, agony, agony, agony. So people, their thought is this is really good. The issue is that with a drop set, let's just say I started with the 50s and I did 5 reps. Okay, and then all this, by the way, bear in mind, all this is being done immediately. There's no break time in between. I'm just boom, 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 boom. So yeah, this is a lot of volume, but this is what I would call garbage volume. It's not productive volume. This volume is not accomplishing anything productive. So with just the 5 reps at 50 pounds, that's awesome. That's a good set. That's a working set. Now, when I drop the weight and I get the 45 pounds, okay, number one, my muscles are fatigued. They're full of waste products. The glucose is mostly depleted. I'm tired. Why am I immediately going and doing my biceps again for another set? This doesn't make any sense. My muscles are already tired. Why would I target it again? And again, not only that, but why do you think I can get 6 or 7 reps? It's because mathematically the weight is lighter, and mathematically I'm receiving less load. So when I do 5 reps at 50, I'll be getting, I don't know what the math is, but I'll be getting, let's just say 1,000 pounds of load delivered to my bicep. Okay, well, when I do 45 reps at 6 or 7, I'm getting less than that. I'm getting, 900 pounds load. So it's not as good. And I'm already fatigued before I do it, so my muscles will not be able to contract as forcefully, and I won't be able to produce as much force. So, and again, as I keep going down lower, the problem intensifies. And you will notice also my range of motion diminishes. So in this particular case, it would actually make a hell of a lot more sense to do just 5 reps with 50, wait, do a couple exercises, 5 or 6 minutes, go back to your biceps, 5 reps for 50, do your other exercise, go back to your biceps for a third set, 5 reps 50 pounds for 5 reps, and then you're done for the day. This will maximally damage your muscle fibers. This will maximally give you time to recover in between sets, replace the glucose, give you maximum contraction, maximum damage every time. A drop set, you're just mathematically lowering the weight and the load, increasing your fatigue, increasing your pump. Yeah, you're getting a better pump, but a pump has exactly 0 correlation with muscle growth. As for forced reps, I will actually slightly disagree with Doug about this, because I believe, and also I will actually say that my belief is backed up in the findings in this book I'm currently reading. And that is that the heavier eccentric portion will damage the muscle more. And for most people, the raising, let's say it's bicep curl, the raising, the contraction of the weight, they can't actually lift as much weight as they can lower. So if I can lift 50 pounds for a bicep curl, well, I can actually controlled lower 80 pounds, 90 pounds. So if I have somebody help me to put that in a position and then I lower it, I'll be doing more damage to my muscle than if I only did 50 and slowly lowered that. Not necessarily more damage, but I'll be damaging it faster and more efficiently. Let's put it that way. Do I train with forced reps? I do not. And the reason I don't is because I don't have a good partner. If I had a partner for the gym, by the way, I've never really had a partner. I prefer working out alone. But if I had a good partner for the gym and I was doing forced reps, I would still only do them for a single set, and that would be at the end of my exercise. It would be my last set. So it's my last set of biceps. That's when I would do the forced reps, because otherwise there's too much damage occurring and I shouldn't be doing sets after that point. I hope all that makes sense. If you want to do just a single set till failure, forced reps is awesome. But again, we're splitting hairs here. We're talking percentages. The reason Doug disagrees with it more than likely is because you need to have somebody with you who knows what the hell they're doing. You also have to have the ability to perform the exercise perfectly under intense stress and pressure. You have to hold yourself stable. It's just not practical for most people. Again, I myself don't even train this way. So it's just not practical for most people. So I get him, but I like to also try to clarify things as well. That's all. Let's see here. You and Doug both believe higher reps are best for hypertrophy. I follow y'all's advice. It's funny, through all these years, people thought high reps for endurance and not growth. Yeah, I know. I mean, I used to as well. So it's the same thing. We all do. But again, some of us decide to keep learning. What are my thoughts on running HCG or preferably HMG on cycle for neurosteroid and progesterone production alongside preserving testicular volume? Likely makes BTC easier if that's the testicular function was sustained. Well, I'll give you my opinion. I'll put it that way, because I don't actually have enough, let's say, data to give you a good answer on this. I'll give you my opinion. And just take this with a grain of salt. Please understand, take this with a grain of salt. And this is something I've done myself, taking HCG on cycle, the main reason a guy will do it is because it increases his sperm production and it makes his balls normal size. I'm just being honest with you here. This is why guys do it when they're on cycle. This is the primary reason that they do it. My opinion is you're wasting your money if you're doing it on cycle, because hopefully, if you're doing a proper cycle, you shouldn't even be worried about that. Taking it after a cycle is extremely effective way to start your PCT. So as you probably already know, a PCT is post-cycle therapy, by the way, for you guys. As you probably already know, before you even finish your cycle, you should already be starting your PCT. And I would recommend starting your HCG roughly 1 month, maybe 3 weeks before you get off completely. That's when I would start. And I would start taking an extremely high dose. I don't know what you're currently taking or whatever. I would just say take more than you think you have to for the first month, and then slowly wean yourself off for the next 2 months before your next cycle. Plus, make sure you're taking your Clomid. And I don't know what you're taking. Again, I don't know if you're taking Deca or Tren or whatever, but make sure your progesterone levels are on point. They're where they're supposed to be. Make sure your estrogen is where it's supposed to be. Make sure you do your blood work. Make sure before you do your blood work, you haven't exercised for 2 or 3 days. Make sure everything is normal and stable before you go do your blood work. And again, don't exercise for 2 or 3 days beforehand. Any supplements that you're taking, you make sure you tell the person as well who's doing your blood work. And that includes steroids and stuff. Tell them as well. They don't give a shit. I don't know why people think they do. They do not care. Tell them whatever stuff that you had been taking, whatever gear you've been taking, they don't give a shit. No one cares. They say, okay, and then they'll tell you whether you're in the correct levels or not. But just make sure you do your blood work. I've seen so many people try to do this shit guessing. You can't guess. You can't like touch your nipple and be like, oh, it's a little, my estrogen's high. Oh, maybe it's a little poofy. I think my progesterone's high. Now, you have to do your blood work because everybody's body responds individually. So without really knowing, what kind of a cycle you took, because there's all kinds of cycles to take, and the PCT for all of them is different, I would just say, don't waste your money and take HCG during cycle unless the appearance of your balls and cum loads is important to you. And if you're going to start taking it, it should be about a month before you come off your gear. You should be doing your blood work. And again, just kind of make sure everything is as good as you can before you get your blood work done. So again, no exercise, make sure you're sleeping adequately, make sure everything's gravy. Whoever does your blood work, walk them through your cycle, walk them through your supplements, like things like creatine will affect your blood work. Just be aware of all these things. Can you tell me the name of the book you're reading that you keep mentioning? Yeah. I will. 1 second, I'll grab the book. this way. There's a lot of books. I don't want to confuse you with the name. Just go on Amazon. All right, it's right here. Science and Development, Muscular Hypertrophy. Okay, so just make sure you get this one. I think it's, I don't remember. I think it's like $100 on Amazon. I buy too many books. I can't remember. I buy at least 1 or 2 books a week. But yeah, it's something like that. It's like $100 or something. Well worth the price. It's extremely comprehensive. I've already read it kind of once through, and I'm going back through a second time and digesting and making flashcards for myself and stuff. Oh, interesting, by the way, I'm going to put together a book of flashcards for you guys with like all the terms you guys kind of need to know. Things like passive insufficiency, active insufficiency, neurological connection, certain angles for certain exercises. I'm going to put a little list of flashcards together for you guys. It's another book I'm going to be working on. Bobby, disagree with Doug about forced reps. Well, again, I don't. I just got to say, from my side here, from being on the kind of the YouTube, the coaching side, the guy who makes the videos side, I can really understand why lots of times why creators and people like Doug, why they'll say these things, why he'll say he doesn't like forced reps, for example. I mean, if I was doing an interview and somebody asked me my thoughts on forced reps, I don't think I would go into detail explaining it the way I do here. It's just too complicated. Most people don't care. They don't understand the nuances. The nuances don't apply to really anyone. I mean, truly, these little tiny 1%, these tiny little nuances, I care about them because I care about efficiency. I prioritize. I want the best out of everything in the least amount of possible time. I want to get the best, the fastest. I want the most money, the quickest. I want everything as efficient as possible. And that has to do with these little percentages. But if I was just in an interview and somebody asked me about forced reps, I would say, I don't use them. I don't like them. It's a short answer. It makes sense. I wouldn't really keep explaining and digging into it because nobody cares about these things. If I was making a video, I might. A video specifically about forced reps, just to clarify things. But again, most people don't care, or most people will hear my information where I get into these really descriptive, detailed nuances, and I'm talking 0.5% here and stuff, and they will blow it out of context, and they'll say, well, Coach Castle says the forced reps are better, and they'll do them every workout set, and that'll actually be detrimental. It'll take their progress backwards. So again, I totally get like why Doug and other people say what they say. I've had to be very careful with my wording, noticing from my videos and comments I've gotten, sometimes my wording gets misinterpreted. Sometimes I don't say things, or I keep things extra simple just to keep it generalized. So just, to kind of be aware of that, guys. I mean, it's not always that easy. How important is time under tension? How much should you have time under tension for hypertrophy? Okay, so this is actually real simple. Except for one muscle, rule of thumb is raise the weight under control for roughly 1 second, and then lower the weight under control 2 to 4 seconds. The reason I say 2 to 4 seconds is because obviously the last couple reps, it's going to be real hard to get 4 seconds. So, but try to get that. This is because, again, the concentric, or the raising of the weight, is by far the weakest muscle contraction. The lengthening is by far the strongest. It's 4 times stronger. And this is also where most of the muscle damage occurs. So you want to prioritize that thing, that part of the movement. I've said it at probably every coaching session so far I've had on live, but guys, the best advice I could give to you, more than anything, is take your sweet ass time to learn these movements lightweight. Make sure you can feel your bones moving where they're supposed to move. Make sure you have body awareness of what's happening. Don't just do things. Don't just do movements. That's why we have mirrors. Watch yourself. Record yourself. Are my forearms perfectly parallel with gravity? Is only my humerus moving, or am I also moving my clavicle and my scapular ridge? Am I only performing a lateral delt raise, or am I doing all kinds of things? Am I only performing an oblique crunch, or am I using other muscles? Watch yourself like a stranger who's paid you $1 million to make sure they exercise properly. Use lighter weights than you think you should be using. I mean, again, to put in perspective, I do my rear delts with 20 pounds. I do my triceps with 30 pounds. I do my biceps with 35 pounds. I do my front delts with 35 pounds. I do. I'm 6'2". I'm 215 pounds. I'm very muscular. I use these weights. These are the weights you should be using if you're in the right rep range, if you're performing them correctly, and you're performing them with correct time under tension. You're not special. These rules apply to everybody. This is physics. This is biochemistry. This is non-negotiable. This is the science. This is why I have created this YouTube channel, is because I have been extraordinarily frustrated over the years trying to explain science, and nobody has any interests in learning it. So I've had to become very good at explaining it. But guys, to put it in perspective again, for any of you who are like, disheartened or you're feeling bad about yourself, I have been saying almost the same exact information and working out almost the same exact way for about 7 or 8 years now. Now, 7 or 8 years ago, I was 145 pounds. I was saying the same things, teaching the same things that I'm teaching now when I'm 215 pounds. My exercise selection has not changed. My sets have not varied. My weights haven't changed too much. The only thing my weights have done is gone down over time. And the reason they've gone down is because I've gotten more proficient, and then they're slowly going back up again because I had to drop them down to where I could perform them perfectly for every muscle group under control till close to failure. And then I was getting stronger again finally, and then I'm going back up again now. But guys, don't be disheartened. It takes time. If you're doing everything perfectly, you should be expecting 1 to 3 pounds of muscle growth per year. If you're doing everything perfectly and you're also either genetically gifted, you pick the correct parents, or you're enhanced in some way, you can expect roughly 5 to 6 pounds of muscle a year. Don't expect 10, 15, 20, 30, 40. It's not going to happen. Don't expect crazy results. There is no program in the world. There's no multiple amounts of drugs you can be taking. There's no working out 5 hours a day. None of this is going to do it. The human body has limitations. It has a perfect frequency for exercise. It has perfect exercises to perform. It has a perfect way to breathe. It has a perfect way to walk. It has a perfect way to perform every single action. And everything that you deviate outside of that maximum efficiency is going to take your results backwards. I mean, I'm not plugging this, but I mean, this is why I wrote this new book of mine. This is why I have it. This is also why I have this YouTube channel. It's because everything is so incredibly misunderstood when it is so simple. When everything is actually really easy. People just don't want to hear how easy it is. People don't want to actually hear the science. They don't want to hear that there's actually only about 26 perfect exercises. People don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear that you don't need to go to a gym, that you can do them at home for no money. People don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear that the best kind of cardio is actually walking. They don't want to hear that. But people don't want to hear that the best way to diet is not what people tell you. It's actually just eat the food that you like and eat a little bit less of it over time, slowly increase your protein. People don't talk about the fact that you really need to be prioritizing your sleep and your food and your supplementation over your exercise and your cardio. These are not discussed things. People don't talk about correcting your breathing. They don't talk about correcting your mind. They don't talk about creating a schedule to keep yourself sane and making progress in life, because these aren't glamorous. They don't sell. You can't sell these things. You can't market these things because they're free, as it should be. My opinion. Anyways, so back to the questions here. I want to take creatine just because I don't think I'll ever do a cycle, but I wish there was more studies done on the hair loss side effects of, what are you talking about? Oh, no, not to insult you, JC, sorry, but creatine is actually the most studied supplement in the entire world, bar none, and there are no side effects of hair loss from creatine. That is 100% impossible. I have no problem saying that. 100% impossible. Now, just on creatine, I firmly believe everyone should take creatine. For those of you who don't know, creatine is naturally occurring in the human body. You will produce it whether you take it or not. The issue is people who exercise use up their creatine rapidly, much more rapidly than most people. Therefore, they deplete it. They go to the gym again. They don't have the same creatine stores. They don't have the same level of endurance. They don't have the same capacity for muscle growth. Their cells are not as filled with water. They don't have the same, all these things. So should you take creatine? Yes, anyone who's listening to this. Is there anyone who should not take creatine? No, not a single human being. You produce it naturally anyways. This is stupid. It's like saying don't eat salt, don't drink water. It's ridiculous. Should take creatine, take it now. If it causes upset in your stomach, buy creatine with a K. It comes with baking soda in it and it'll settle your stomach. I have a video coming up, by the way, about how baking soda can be used to enhance your performance in the gym by up to 50%. Being serious, yes. I'll get into that a little bit later in this week. But moving back to the creatine, do you have to load creatine? No. Can you? Sure, you could take 5 pills a day for a week and then go back down to 2 pills. It doesn't matter. Or you could just take 2 pills a day forever. There's no part. It doesn't matter. You can't oversaturate yourself with creatine. If you take too much, you're just going to piss it out. But that's my thoughts on creatine anyways, guys. You said that there is one muscle group that you wouldn't lower 2 to 4 seconds. Which one is that? Oh, I apologize. I didn't mention that muscle group yet. So the only muscle group that does not apply to this rule, and that is your calves. When you're training your calves, you should go tippy toes like a ballerina, and then bring your foot down until your heel is completely stretched out, all the way stretched out completely. You stop for 2 seconds. This removes the bounce reflex or the solaris tendon, focusing only on the gastrocnemius. And then you're going to rapidly raise yourself in a 1-second contraction back to ballerina. So again, keep it simple. Ballerina toes, and then 4 seconds down, 2 seconds completely stopped in the stretched position, and then rapidly raise yourself again. This is the best way to make your calves grow because this way you're only targeting muscle fibers, not tendons. Back to questions here. Would you say a full range of motion leg extension, calves almost touching the butt with focus on the lengthened or mid-range is the ultimate quad exercise, or a pendulum squat? So this is the thing. It's a movement pattern. So you guys got to understand this. So if I'm doing a sissy squat, it's actually the same as me doing a sissy squat on a machine. The only difference is I have a pad in front of my shins, which is taking the pressure, as opposed to if I'm doing a sissy squat and dropping straight down, the pressure is going onto my toes, but that's right below my shins. So it's the same exact thing. This is, of course, the same as a pendulum squat, which is, again, it's just a slightly different resistance curve, which is the same as a leg extension, which, again, is just a slightly different resistance curve. So all of these movements are actually amazing. I think what you're getting at is if you had a leg extension machine which was built perfectly, meaning it was independent, so each leg had a particular pad and they were not touching each other like a barbell, and then those pads were able to put you in a position you would be in during a sissy squat, so your legs are completely doubled, but the pad is on your calf, and then you were to perform a leg extension to a fully straight leg. Would that be superior to a pendulum squat or to a sissy squat? I would say that a pendulum squat or a sissy squat would be still preferable to the leg extension. We're splitting hairs here again, but the actual resistance curve is altered. It's a slightly different resistance curve. If you think about it like this, unless the actual cam that the cable on the leg extension machine goes on is the correct size, distance, and shape, when you do the leg extension and you conclude the movement, at that moment in time, your lower leg is parallel with gravity and it is a 100% lever. You should actually be wanting to finish the movement pattern where you're in the standing position, and at the conclusion, the contraction, there's very little load. This is the natural mechanical actual resistance curve you want to follow. So the leg extension is a great exercise, and if you built it the way you said to build it, it would be like a 9 exercise-wise. But I still think a pendulum squat or a sissy squat would be preferable. We're kind of splitting percentages here. But as far as preferable resistance curves, sissy squat, pendulum squat are better. I understand, coach. You sure have to be careful what you say. No, exactly. Yeah, you do it. Well, I don't care if people think I'm being rude. I tell people to go fuck themselves all the time because they're idiots. But that's when you're a fucking idiot. If you're listening to my videos and you take offense or you misinterpret something I said, if you take offense, I don't give a shit. fuck your feelings. It's stupid. It's not an argument. But if you misinterpret something I'm saying, that's on me. I mean, that's my fault. I don't want you guys to misinterpret what I'm saying. I try really hard to keep things kind of simple and understandable. You know, the images and stuff I use. Oh, I didn't think I insulted you. I just, I'm always careful. But one more question. Do you believe that training to failure should be done frequently or occasionally? How close to failure should we train? Great question. I talk about these all the time. So training to failure, I recommend people do it sometimes, just so they don't forget what it feels like. Sometimes, maybe once a month at the end of one of your sets. Something like that. Maybe twice a month at the end of one of your sets. But don't do it every workout. Don't do it every set. Absolutely not. That's a bad idea. Should you train to failure? Yeah, because it keeps your intensity level high, and it also lets you know where your actual failure is, so you can gauge your workouts properly. I hope that helps. And if you're going to be training to maximally efficiently grow your muscles, you want to stop 3 to 4 reps short of complete failure. So the whole movement, every time, every rep should be under control, and you should have an internal ability to recognize when you're coming very close to failure, and you should stop about 3 reps short of that. 4 reps, something like that. Man, I love these lives. Don't stop them, please, bro. No worries. I won't stop unless I get too busy, but I will still probably do lives, when I can. It probably just won't be a set time. Good question, Andre. No, that was a great question, Andre, yeah. The tricky thing, again, is just, I like training to failure. I think it's fun. It's fun because it's the same thing as doing an ice bath or a long run or something like this. It's you against your body. It's your body saying, hey, we've decided this is enough. We're going to stop now. We're going to quit. And it's you saying, no. You're a fucking liar. I know you could keep going. I know I can punish you more. I know you can take more abuse. And I'm going to take you to the edge till you're about to rip off the fucking bone. Then we'll stop. Then. That's failure training. But that should not be performed very often. I used to make a huge mistake. And as soon as I came across failure training, I loved it. And guess what I did? I did it every set, every workout for months. And I got stronger, but I also got a lot smaller. I'm not going to get into the story, but just don't do it. I mean, a couple times a month, once or twice a month at the end of a set is good. Say you're doing arms, don't do it like this either. Don't do failure biceps, failure triceps, failure front delt, failure rear delt, failure leg. Don't do that. Pick like one muscle group, biceps. Today with this workout, I'm going to take the final set of my biceps till failure. That's good. Another workout, perhaps do failure with something else, maybe the quads. I don't know. But don't go in there saying at the last set of every single one of my exercises, I'm going to do a failure set. If you're very enhanced, you could get away with that, but I still wouldn't recommend it. It's not optimum. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for today. I got to get off. I have a client to get ready for. I think I got all the questions. I apologize if I didn't see somebody's question. I think I got everybody. Guys, thank you so much. And just a reminder, everybody, just please go to my Etsy store. If you haven't already, check out my books, check out my planners, my schedules, all that stuff on my Etsy store. It's ridiculously cheap. It's $1, $5. It's ridiculous, especially considering the amount of work I put into it and the benefit you guys have. Every time you buy something from there, you help me, you support me with reading more books, getting more certifications, more knowledgeable for you guys. That's all I care about doing. And if anybody wants anything for free, tell me what you want, shoot me an email, and I will send it to you. I'm here to help you guys. We are all in this together. We're all trying to get better together, and the best way to do that is with the right knowledge. And for those of you who have maybe considered it, I'll just run it by you. If you haven't considered an online coach and you don't want to make a commitment, I'm your guy. Why is that? Because most people only train with me for 1 to 2 months. They receive an education. They receive every single tool they could ever need, personalized coaching plans laid out for them, fully comprehensively so they understand what they're doing, and then they're done. And then if they need me again, they contact me months later or a year or 2 later and say, hey, I want this specific thing. Can you help me with it? But generally speaking, guys, most people are only coached by me maybe 2-3 times a week. Online call, 1 to 2 months at a time. Each call with me is $40. You get every tool you could need, everything personalized for you. If you haven't considered online coaching, try it. It's like this live, but it's way better, obviously. But I hope that helps everybody. Please remember, whenever you see one of my videos, just give it a thumbs up, give it a comment if you can, share it with somebody who it might help. And of course, guys, just stay on your grind, stay hard, don't give up, and nobody's going to do the work except for you. So do the damn work. You have my full support.